Hello and welcome back to Ghosthunter. This is Enchanted, and this is the final episode. In this episode, we'll finally be fighting the final boss. So let's get on with things, shall we? I quite like this little part of the way it presents as part of the plot. It's a neat little thing coming up.
This is what it has all been about, Lazarus. The resurrection machine, at last.
And there's Astrid, look! Hey!
You see there? That is Kate Heller.
What's this thing do?
Step inside and I'll tell you.
The world is full of ghosts, Lazarus. Every man that is killed before his allotted time becomes one. No moving on into the next month, and they, or should I say you, simply wander forever watching the blind progress, unable to intervene or frustrate existence. The professor learned that some extremely powerful spirits were capable of intervening in human affairs, and with those he encountered, the intervention was nearly always malevolent. He also suspected that a process of decay could be traced. His theory was that after a period spanning centuries of human existence, all ghosts diminished to non-sentient monsters, but simply they stopped existing. You see, he came across none of truly ancient times. From all this, you will appreciate the importance attached to this machine. Its purpose is to return a ghost to living human lore.
It's my vote. Never mind centuries, I've already had it with haunting.
It would appear that astral is crucial to the machine's operation. I cannot predict the full consequences of doing so, but as you wish to live again, our only option is to use the machine. Perhaps reversal of everything we have fought for, but the only logical course of action.
You don't hear me arguing. Let's do it.
Reminds me of Briefly Seconds, and I quite like that.
No! The machine.
I'm alive. I lost my second sight. Oxmoor? Where?
I don't know.
Oh no.
Ideas?
Destroy the machine. It's the moment you love, worm boy. What's going through your mind now? A bullet.
And now it's time for the actual final boss, which isn't so much a boss as a gauntlet. This is a very disappointing final fight that I'm not a big fan of. Although I quite like those scenes preceding it, even if they are poorly explained due to the cutting of the plot. Hawksmoor is basically, this is the ending of the Kappa movie pretty much, with like, oh, evil ghost trying to turn himself back to life, but you using the machine first kind of thing. It reminds me a lot of the Kappa movie. But yeah, it's time to fight a bunch of waves of enemies. First of all, these guys, the blue spooks. Let's take care of them. And we are using a new weapon as well. This new weapon is the final weapon in the wheel, but although we don't get any other weapons for this whole section, so the wheel's kind of irrelevant. This is why I mentioned that there was one more weapon to get, but it wasn't really counted. for the purposes of what I was showing off in the weapon wheel and stuff, because while there is an extra slot for it in the inventory, it takes away all your other weapons. It's basically just a plot weapon that you use now and never again. Well, yeah, now we're fighting a bunch of revenants. These enemies come thick and fast in large numbers. This is a fairly annoying fight because of that, because you're always going to be taking damage from somewhere, and it's kind of ridiculous. So let's finish taking care of these spooks and the revenants, and we'll see what else happens from here. There was one thing I kind of liked with this part, that was Hawksmore's kind of floating around in the background constantly, keeping watch of the whole situation. But yeah, this is a really good game, but with a feeble ending, in my opinion. But as you can see, because we don't need ammo anymore, because it's infinite with the techno gun, we now get just all the health drops in the world, which means we're not quite invulnerable. If you get in a bad situation, you can lose enough health to end up dying, but it's still pretty dire. It's still pretty simple as long as you remember where all the health is dropping and keep an eye out on your own health to make sure you're constantly going back to the right amount of it, and also not letting certain situations happen. So let's take care of these swamp beasts, who are proving really annoying, as the second major wave of enemies. Still no big deal though, because they're easily dodged. They don't do that much damage when they do hit, and their fireballs are just really slow. I do kind of like the music in this section. It's pretty interesting. Well, it gets really repetitive, but it does a good job keeping things pumping when it comes to the bass line. And of course here we have teddies as well to deal with in this wave. So let's take care of the last of the swamp phantoms, and then the last of the teddies, and we'll see what happens on the next section as well. I don't know, that was weird behaviour going past that actual booth thing. It seems like he went kind of clipped a bit into it and then jig it out. I don't know what really happened there. And you can see that was a weapon wheel, currently completely empty, and oh god, I'm in special aid. That was a close one, that could have been disastrous. Well, annoying to play anyway. I think we're nearly done with the Swamp Phantoms, one of the most annoying enemy types in this game because of how mobile they tend to be, while also being harmless. So let's finish chilling with these teddies. We're just chilling out over here in this corner. Hello Hawksmore, having fun? But yeah, with how good the boss design the rest of this game is, this is a probably disappointing fight to end things off on. Now here's where things get dicey if you're not good at positioning yourself, because this next wave gets kind of mean with what they give you. Once we've finished taking care of these, anyway. Because now I believe it has spawned some Death Angels. I just need to find the stupid things. There they are. So let's take care of these Death Angels, which can be a dangerous wave because they do quite a bit of damage and they're very mobile. And honestly, this techno gun feels really weak, much like the weapon that the AI was using when he was a military robot. This weapon feels fairly underpowered compared to even the basic pistol, because the pistol, when they were latched onto the reality of the grenade, did seem to kill them quite a lot quicker. Not these guys, but most enemies in general. I think it's partially because we can't see their health bars, so that it's having that kind of effect of making this seem less powerful than it is. It's kind of a psychological thing. Here is where the big problem comes in, these bloody guards, because they can do a lot of damage very quickly, because their attacks come out very quickly, and they can just keep kind of coming at you. And if you get into a bad position, they can just keep smacking you, not letting you get your health back in, because you only get like 2 health at a time from these guys. And they do for each, so each time they hit you it's a net loss. But I'm pretty much almost done with these guys. There we go. That's the most dangerous part of the fight over with now. Now we'll just take care of these revenants. And those. Would you stop throwing these things at me? The fight's going on for so long. Even more Death Angels. Yeah, this fight starts really repeating itself, and it's just not an interesting fight to play or to watch. I'm sorry about that, but that's just the way this game ends. It starts with a bang and ends on a whimper. But there we go. I do kind of like the look of the room with the big machine in the middle though, although if the machine wasn't so pathetic looking, it would definitely be more interesting. I did kind of like the pentagram style thing at the top of the machine though. That was vaguely interesting to look at before we blew it up. And also the professor has finally redeemed himself, so that's something. Well, I'd say he's come to our rescue. That's being as charitable as I'll put it. Take care of this guard who got lost over here. I believe we are nearly done with this section. I think after the guards, it's the final wave coming up. We'll see them. Because again, this fight's kind of repetitive, so it can get hard to tell when you're near the end of it or not. But you know when you're on the final wave where you can actually like see Hawksmoth blinking when you hit him with the guns, I think. Here we go, yeah, because now he's actually attacking us himself. So now it's time to actually fight him. I mean, he was attacking you between waves, but now he's actively attacking us constantly, so now we just need to keep shooting at him until he goes away. Because this guy has no other forms, it's just this. And it's just kind of pathetic, really. I mean, he's literally fighting like a swamp phantom and then he just falls down.
Professor, Professor, I have one useful function remaining. Look. Zero bar. We can end forever. We can end.
No. Come on. Come on.
There's no time. We have to go now.
I'll be right behind you. Oh, no. Don't worry, he's alive. What about Kate? I got her. Come on. I can help you. Go, go, I'll be right behind you.
Professor, are you still toying with forces you do not understand? You can never bring this to an end.
It's okay. I'm a weak man, a civilian, I have too many scruples. You may want to cover your ears.
Professor? You don't think he made it?
I don't know what to think.
What? What?
Nothing. It's not funny. I don't know why I'm laughing. I was just thinking about filing my report.
Oh, God.
I'm not sure where to start.
Don't start then. No one's gonna believe it anyway.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Seriously, What do you think we should do?
Pretend it never happened?
It never happened.
Just gotta think of a good reason for being about 3 days late.
Make it a good excuse. You may need to use it again. You sure you're finished with all that stuff in there?
Yeah, this real world would do me just fine. Homicide, carjacking, narcotics.
Illegal parking, noisy neighbors, dog fouling. Hey, it's a jungle out here, partner.
You know, back there, you shot me. You killed me.
And your point is?
Took you 2 shots. I need a partner who can do the job at 1.
Well, that was a pretty shitty thing to say. And there we have our somewhat underwhelming ending to an otherwise pretty decent game. So, let's have a few final thoughts. The strongest thing about this game is definitely the writing and the voice acting. The plotting is kind of a mess, although I liked where they were going with some of it, and I wanted to see more of what they were going to be doing with, say, the Parliament, because it would have given Michael Gambon more lines, most likely, if they had more to do with the Parliament, because he probably would have had a lot more cutscenes planned with them, that it just never went through. So a lot of things like that with like a game with an incomplete plot, where I just get curious about where they were planning on going with it, where it's like, okay, what were you thinking of doing with it before you ran out of budget or time? Something I always find kind of interesting. But I like the game overall. Generally the bosses are very strong, so that one being so terrible is kind of pathetic, really. Especially the way he doesn't even have a destruction animation. He just literally drops out of the earth. Pretty well, he just drops out of the game world, which is kind of a lame way of doing it. And even then you don't see the Zero Bomb doing anything to him. It just randomly explodes and story over. They really could have at least made that a little more climactic, but again, I believe this game suffered from a variety of setbacks when it came to things. It just feel like a lot got planned that wasn't put through or that got cut. Because for the final level, it really does feel like they were like, oh, we have these really cool story gimmicks, like, oh, the AI becomes a military robot and you get to blow up the base, isn't that cool? Or Lazarus dies and you end up playing as him temporarily, that's pretty cool. And they just had these neat ideas, like set pieces and visuals, like Hawkmore's castle's right in the middle of the base, that kind of neat, but they didn't know how to string it together, or they didn't have the time to string it together, or again, the budget, one of those. Because it does feel like Hawkmore Castle was like planned to be the final boss arena, because it has that big room where you learn all about Hawkmore that looks like an arena in itself, and it would bring things full circle where the professor was fighting him. And the fact that it's right there in the base and surrounded by all those pickups for ammo and health and everything like that makes me think they were planning on that being the final room before whatever happened, and they had to kind of cut things out. Still, the voice actors did do a really good job. I quite liked, specifically, the woman that did the librarian. She was, and the Madame de Montfort. She was pretty good. And of course, Gambon was Gambon. Bob Paulson did pretty well as Lazarus Jones, although some of the lines he was given, even he couldn't save, like that ending there with, oh, you shot me, I'm going to find a partner that can do it in one. It's just like, that's just an asshole thing to say, dude. You are the worst person. Michael Cochran was pretty funny as Fortescue. Joe Morton was fairly generic as Richmond, but he was there. He did fine with the role he was given. Generally, there were quite a few people that shared voice actors, but even then, they were doing fairly well for themselves. They did well making the voices distinctive. I completely forgot that Hawkmore's name was William until I just saw it in the credits there. It never comes up. He's only ever referred to as Hawkmore Wormboy. Again, I'm assuming that was probably something that was planned to be revealed at some point in like one of the other cutscenes, like maybe one of the Parliament would mockingly call him William, I don't know, but yeah. And yeah, there were 4 voice actors for the Parliament, but it only really felt like there were 2 people there. So they were pretty poorly separated out as well. I quite like the music in the game, it's fairly strong. I like the hillbilly banjo stuff, and I also like the atmospheric themes that appear throughout in the actual levels. I also like that a lot of the atmospheric music seems to follow the same basic chord progression, so as to remind you it's all part of the same game, it's just a different area of it. Like, each one has its own spin on it, like, for example, the swamp is a very chill variation on it, the school is a very standard one, that kind of stuff. I believe the ship was more mechanical, that kind of thing. I quite like the way the levels are laid out, because they feel like areas that could actually exist. Like, the school was regular enough and not ridiculous enough to be something I could imagine actually attending some days. The ship was a bit awkwardly laid out, but it still felt like you were going kind of up and down it in a convincing enough way. Although it probably doesn't map out at all. It's not like that Cold Fear with its boat, where it was like really well mapped out with only a few weirdnesses. The military base was fairly samey looking, but then again that kind of makes sense because it's a military base. It's going to be very formal, very plain, and it's going to have a lot of similar looking rooms, so that I can kind of forgive because it's a workplace and they tend to get a little samey looking floor to floor. It's just it kind of overdid it, not having very clear signage on where you were actually going, that kind of thing. Like, you saw all these numbers for the labs, but they were meaningless. So that was a real maze to navigate, especially when you no longer had the professor to follow and were stuck using the AI. That was pathetic, but it was a fun. A lot of those sections like that were they were fun in theory, or interesting for storytelling perspectives, like with the Lazarus's ghost stuff and the possession of Lazarus by the prisoner and Hawksmoor at the same time stuff in the prison. That was really cool. Generally, this game does really well with how it presents its story. It's just its story is kind of a cobbled together mess. I don't know what I'll be doing next. I'll probably be doing Lego City Undercover. I've started a practice recording for that to see how that goes. Of course, with that one I'll be doing 100% one, but we'll see on that one. Again, we'll see how that generally goes while recording, but it's been fun to do this one though. It's finished now, so any final thoughts? I'd like to hear them in the thread. But if not, well, I'll see you next time. And yeah, that's the stupidest thing. They can't even have a proper, like, sending you back to the title screen. They just hard crashed the game.